So, Dr. Vedam, one of your forces is Marxism, and we hear about how Marxists have taken over the narrative or influenced the narrative in Indian history. So, did we let them write the history? How has this happened? And please talk about it.
Good question. So it turns out that, first of all, what is wrong with the Marxist narrative? It is a way of looking at the world and dynamics. The Marxists believe that all of history is a history of class conflicts. And Karl Marx famously believed that you can change the old order, which is corrupted, by the way, when the working class rises against the ruling class and in a bloody revolution. And finally, you're going to have a classless utopian future society. That is the fantasy or the dream of the Marxists. And in India, what we see is initially after independence, the Nehruvian socialists who are basically joined at the hip with the Marxists in their line of thinking. For example, Nehru was part of the Fabian Society in Britain when he studied there. The Fabians believed that they could bring about socialism in Britain. Socialists believed that the old order is corrupted. You can change the old order through democratic means and replace it with a classless utopian society. In other words, they are the same ideology as the Marxists, except for the bloody revolution. So since 1947, Nehruvian socialism took the roost, and we had this kind of a thinking in India. His daughter, Indira Gandhi, in 1970 or 71, for political survival, she made a pact with the communists. And in return for their support, the communists demanded the HRD, which includes the education sector. So Narul Hassan, who was the minister at that time, education HRD, he brought about so many of the present-day social sciences, universities, institutes, and institutions, such things in India, more than 30 to 40 of them. And today, if almost every vice chancellor or professor in the social sciences universities or departments are manned by people who are either socialists or who are Marxists in thinking. The emic thinker, which is the Indian civilization practitioner thinker, does not have a place over here in his narration of Indian history. So over the course from 1970 to now, about 50 years and on, they've completely erased the Indian scholarship from the universities. That is why we are seeing so many distortions out here, because only the Marxist narrative has been upheld and has been pushed through NCERT textbooks, media, elsewhere on the population. So we only get to see the conflict model. The socialists, the Marxists want to push the conflict model, that all of social dynamics is one of class conflicts. Therefore, you have oppressor-oppressed kind of narrations happening even in the textbooks, that this person was oppressed by that person's group, that jati was against this jati, and so on and so forth. All this kind of narrations add to the distortions that we have. It loses sight of the cohesiveness of the Indian civilization and amplifies the conflict dynamics.